Hello, everyone. You want to say hi, Lulu? Come on, say hi. Hurry up. Say hello. Up here, look. You got to look up here, look. Up there. You see? Say hello. Say hello. Look. Over here. Okay, go on. Go on. Go. Good girl. Good girl. Hello, everyone. How you all doing today? Good to see you all. Man, this was really an impromptu live stream. I was like, you know what? Let's get on there and talk about why there is no way out. Listen, gentlemen, this is why we prepare and stay prepared, because of what's going on and what's going to happen, of which there is no outcome that is going to be positive. There really isn't. There's no outcome that's going to be positive with this conflict that we got going on with Iran. There really isn't. Even if tomorrow they say, okay, we surrender, there's still going to be very, very bad implications as to the secondary, tertiary, fourth order of effects that come about this. There's really no outcome, no positive outcome with our economy, taking into consideration AI, taking into consideration the devaluation and continued devaluation of the currency, not only of this country, but of pretty much every country in the world. There's not going to be a very good outcome with our adversaries as they presently stand, like the two big ones, China and Russia. This is why we prepare. Things going forward are going to become extremely challenging, especially in the way of us being able to have the things that we need in order to carry on with everyday life. I actually went out today and I got a little bit more gasoline to put away because I don't see this ending anytime soon, unfortunately. I wish I was 100% wrong. I wish that this weekend would come and go, and on Monday that we get some kind of a briefing from the White House saying, yeah, we're bringing everyone home. Everyone that was there, we're bringing them home, and everything is great. Our relations are great, but it's not. And that's why we have to be prepared, because I'm not sure if you agree with what I'm saying. If you agree with what I'm saying, go ahead and put 1 on the comment. But the sentiment from other countries toward that of our country here in the United States of America is not that great. I'm not sure if you haven't noticed. So the one good thing that I can see out of this is that the United States of America, for the most part, for the things that are the most important for life, we are pretty much self-sufficient. And what I mean by that is we have plenty of energy that if by some war powers, the president had to declare, okay, all of the oil that we drill, we're keeping here in the US. We are going to refine ourselves. We have the refining capacity, even with what happened in Texas here just a couple, 2 or 3 days ago. We have the refining capacity to provide for ourselves. We actually have the oil, we have the coal, we have the natural gas to provide for ourselves. However, in the current state of things, the way that those markets work is they work in a world market, meaning that these corporations, these companies that drill oil, that drill for natural gas, that dig for coal, etc., that they put their product out in the world market. It's just like gold and silver. There is like a world price for gold and silver, right? And you can see that China's been breaking away from that price that's set by the COMEX and the LBMA over in London, right? You can see that they've been breaking away from that, and I believe they're going to continue to do so. All right. So that's the one bright spot that I can see out of all of this, is that if the worst came to worst, we can provide for ourselves those things that we need in order to live. We can provide food, we have water, and that's if the water infrastructure or the food infrastructure is not attacked or sabotaged by sleeper cells that are embedded within the US. And anyone that doesn't think that there are sleeper cells within the US, well, hopefully I'm wrong, but that's something that the government itself, the Department of Homeland Security, has actually come out and said, yes, we know that they're here. And one of the things that I asked myself when I heard the president say that, he said something like this, I'll paraphrase it. He says, we know they're here and we know where they're at and we're watching them. Well, if we know that they're here and we know where they're at, why aren't we getting them instead of watching them? Which tells me indirectly that maybe they know who they are, which I don't think that they do, but that they don't really know where they all are. And it only takes one person to take down a power distribution center, you know, to take a firearm and shoot. And it's been done before, right? So it only takes one person to travel from place to place and put bad things in the water supply, right? It doesn't even take a person within the United States to do a cyber attack and hack into our logistical systems and have everything go haywire, right? So what you're seeing now as far as prices going up, I believe, and I wholeheartedly believe, that this is like the beginning. Like, I've actually been looking around my apartment to see where can I put some more canned goods. I think canned goods right now, especially if you're a beginner as far as being prepared, is the place to be. I think canned goods will become currency eventually. And you know what? And I'll stop here for a little bit, in a few minutes, and I will go back and forth. Hopefully you all will like to converse back and forth a little bit. Someone's got a good question here. I'm going to put a star next to it. All right, I'll get back to it here in a second. 357 in South Central Texas. I just filled up this morning. I went and got some more gas, and it was $4. I believe it was $4.49 per gallon. All right. But anyways, like I was saying, I think that canned goods, especially for the beginners, is going to be the place to be. If you're all stocked up on your canned goods, and I would go towards mostly, not because I'm a diabetic, but mostly I would go toward the canned proteins. And the reason I'm saying that is because they have so much more value than like canned vegetables. You can probably take a can of, let's say, corned beef, right? And you could probably trade that for a flat of cans of, let's say, green beans, if you had to here later on in the future. But I think that's the place to be, is canned goods. And of course, all of your dry, long-term food storage staples like rice and beans, any kind of legumes, as long as you eat it, right? Sugar, even though sugar is the devil, right? Sugar is very barterable, right? And it has many, many uses, right? If you have oils that are seed oils that you've recently found out that seed oils are terrible for you, and that they were not originally made for human consumption. It's just a way of these large corporations being able to find some use for a waste product. So those of you that don't know that about seed oils, like, you know, like corn oil, like soybean oil, vegetable oils, canola oils, those types of oils, originally they were byproducts. They were waste, manufacturing waste that was used for greasing parts of machinery. And then they found a better use for it. Well, I can't say a better use for it, but they started refining even more and then selling it to the public as this is good for you because it comes from seeds. It's natural. Whereas it's not good for you. It's terrible for you. If you haven't heard about that, do your own research, right? As far as that. The closest thing that I use to a seed oil, and you can't really call it a seed oil, is extra virgin olive oil. It comes from the olives. So that, yeah, you can't even call that a seed oil, but that's the closest thing that I use. If not, I'll use lard from bacon, or I'll use beef tallow from fat that I have left over after I cook a steak or a piece of beef or something like that. So just look into that for yourselves. But this is what we've been prepping for all these years. And I believe that it's not that far away where something very big is going to happen. You remember, I've been telling you all for a long time, you know, we are being entered into a different system. We are being entered into a different monetary system. And every time in our history, at least in the United States, every time, whenever we switch from one monetary system to the other, the average person, your commoner, right, your layman, we are the ones that suffer the most. But in order for that to be done in an orderly manner, we have to ask for that new system that they're proposing. And how do they do that? Well, the Hegelian dialectic, okay? The Hegelian dialectic means that the powers that be, they create a crisis. And believe it or not, this crisis that they created, it's not the crisis yet. They have just created the circumstance by which this next crisis is going to occur. And whatever it is, I can't tell you what it is, but it's going to be something big enough that you will remember where you were when you heard about it, right? It may be a market crash, you know, just for example. It may be a market crash that wipes everything out. Your 401ks go down by 50, 60, 70, 80%. The banks may close. There may be a bank holiday. There may be bank. I don't know what it's going to be. I have no idea. Because causation does not always equal correlation, right? The reason that things repeat or somewhat sort of repeat is not always the same. But when you're in a cycle, you know that it's going to occur. You just can't tell exactly why it's going to occur. And we are at the apex, really, or we're coming towards the apex of many cycles converging upon one another. So if you haven't started prepping, if you're not fully prepped, if you don't have all of the things that you know you're going to need, forego ordering that $60 pizza or going and spending $130 at the theater, et cetera, and maybe concentrate a little bit on getting prepared the very best that you can, because something very big is going to happen. And I wish I could tell you what it was, but I don't know what it is, but it's going to be something really big. That's the only way that they're going to be able to justify to do what it takes in order to switch us over to that new system that they've already got prepared. They've already got it prepared. It's in the background. Right? They're ready to dole it out, but the pain is not enough yet. When there's enough pain within the populace, they'll be like, hey, let's go ahead and do the third part of the Hegelian dialectic. Well, the first part was create a crisis. The second part is they're going to see what the reaction of the people is. And the people are going to be more than happy to take whatever handout or what they think is a handout from the government, which is going to be their solution. Remember the last time? Remember, what is it, during COVID? What was their solution? Their solution was to print about 40% of all of the money that ever existed, right? And that wasn't enough to get people in an uproar, which it wasn't, obviously. A lot of people were on here on YouTube, the internet, screaming out the top of their lungs. I was one of them, saying these STEMI checks are nothing but a bribe. It's nothing but a bribe for you to allow them to steal from the next several generations. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. right? So they printed, I don't know, trillions of dollars, 7, 8, 9 trillion dollars during that time, right? They gave the American people on average about $3,000 each. Now that $3,000 that everyone got, right? For that, the average family now has to spend on average about $1,100 a month more every month, in order to maintain the same standard of living that they had before the COVID deal happened. So for $3,000 a person, now the average family gets to spend $1,000 a month more just to maintain their same standard of living. And that's not just for 1 year, that's forever. As long as we have that debt, the standard of living that we have now post-COVID is the standard of living that we're going to keep if nothing changes. But if it took about $7 trillion or so for them to get over the COVID deal, to go through the COVID deal, how much do you think it's going to take next time, ladies and gentlemen? It's always more and more and more. And when you're in a debt-based system, that's how it works. Every crisis is more expensive. Every crisis adds more and more debt to the bottom line, meaning the more debt that our country is in, the more enslaved that we are to the tax system. Why? Because the more of our tax dollars that gets extracted from us goes to paying those interest rates on the national debt. There is really no easy way out. And I would dare to say there is really no way out. We are going to feel the pain one way or another, right? So let's say everything is great. Everything is great. This weekend goes by. We have a great Monday. The markets are doing great, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what? We have a small problem called the bond market, right? We have a small problem called the bond market. And we have another small problem that's called rolling over debt in the amount of roughly $10 trillion this year that has to be rolled over, which means that we have to borrow money in order to pay the interest on that debt that we have to roll over. And then we have to issue more bonds in order to cover that debt that we have to roll over. Well, at interest rates where they are now, forget it. Our interest payments is going to probably double here in the next couple of years than what it is now. Right now, we're at a little bit over $1 trillion a year in interest, which is about 20 to 25% of all of the taxes that are collected. Well, if that doubles, 20 to 25, double is almost 50%, if not 50%. Where are they going to get the rest of the money that they need in order to run the government and all the programs that they've accustomed the American people to receiving? They're going to have to borrow it at even higher interest rates. Why is that? Because most of the world now is more in favor of keeping gold in reserves rather than U.S. treasuries, meaning that they're not borrowing any more U.S. dollars, or excuse me, they're not lending the U.S. any more money by buying the treasury notes, right? They're rather instead putting more gold into their reserves than they are dollars, right? So who's going to absorb all of the excess debt that we are going to have to need in order to continue to run the government? I'm going to tell you exactly who right now. You are. We are. And it all has to do with the tokenization of everything that the Genius Act enabled the banks to do. Right? They're able to tokenize assets, and then they're able to use those tokenized assets to cushion the US dollar by putting it into law that every dollar's worth of tokenized assets has to be backed up by a stable coin, either Tether or Circle, USDT or USDC. Well, in that same act, in that same Genius Act, it states that those two coins, those two tokens, have to be backed up by US dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, And that's what they're going to use in order to continue to be able to borrow more and more money and pay less interest rates. So they're going to continue to borrow more and more and more, be able to pay a little less interest rates because it's within our borders. They're keeping they're starting to keep everything within our borders. That's pretty dangerous, really, when it comes to currency, right? And what assets are they going to tokenize? You better say goodbye to your retirement, because your retirement is going to be tokenized dollar for dollar, which means that it's going to be backed up by a U.S. Treasury. Well, how good is a U.S. Treasury, ladies and gentlemen, when nobody else wants it? And how much is a U.S. Treasury really worth if nobody else wants it? And I'm not saying that nobody else wants the dollar or the Treasury right now, but I'll ask you this again. Who is going to come and save the United States of America when the United States of America needs someone to come and save them, right? You saw all of these other countries that were asked, hey, can you help out? Can you help out in the Strait of Hormuz? And how many said yes? And how many did it take days for them to finally realize that it was in their best interest to say yes? Not very many of them. So when I say that no one's going to come to your rescue, I don't just mean you. I mean we. And again, we're in somewhat of a good place as far as being able to depend on ourselves for the things that we need to live. But get ready. And I'm not saying this is going to happen tomorrow. I have no idea when it's going to happen. But I think it's going to happen sooner than later. I think that we're going to have a very big problem, bigger than what we have now with China, right? Because China is being starved of energy from Iran. They're being starved of energy from Venezuela. And you'll remember what really started off World War II? All right. So for those of you that don't know, World War II started for the United States of America when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. But why did they attack Pearl Harbor? Well, for years prior to their attack on Pearl Harbor, they were being starved of energy. They were not being allowed, and I do believe that it was by the U.S. government, by FDR. They were like sanctioned. They were not allowing any of their imports to come in. Right? They were being blockaded, and eventually, someone in the Japanese government said something like, and I'm obviously talking to you like a layman because I'm not a historian. It's just what I've learned throughout the years. Someone in the Japanese government says, "Hey, we're not going to survive if we can't get anything imported," because they import almost everything in Japan, and they did at that time too. If we can't get our imports, if we can't get our energy, we're not going to survive. So we have two choices: we either sit here, do nothing, and die, or either go and fight and try to survive that way. And they then therefore decided to attack the U.S. And that's what got us into World War II. So when you push a rat into a corner and that rat has nowhere else to go, or has absolutely no good choices, that rat is going to fight. And that's what I see happening with China eventually. I see a very big deal next year in 2027, because that's the deadline that China put on taking back Taiwan. So I see something very big happening. And like I said, I don't know exactly what it will be or when, but I think it's going to be sooner than later. And this is why we need to stay prepared and get as prepared as possible. If you have community, if you have friends, if you have a bug out location, get everything ready and keep it ready. And let's pray to God that you'll never need it, that we'll never need it. Right? Let's pray to God that 12 years from now, I'm doing a video on a 15-year can of ham, that I showed you that I bought here a few days ago because I never had to use it. That is the best case scenario. But as far as our monetary system, I can tell you this: there's no way that this monetary system by which we are governed today can survive in the current form that it's in for too much longer. And who are they going to get that wealth from? It's going to be from the people, right? It's going to be from the average person. So protect yourselves in every possible way that you can, right? And only you can decide what you want to do, to what extent you want to be prepared for any situation. But what I'm saying is that I believe that we are going to need to use our preps sooner than later. So make sure you inventory, make sure you stock up, fill in those gaps. You honestly can't keep a lot of gasoline or diesel or wherever, depending on where you live or what kind of setup you have. But my rule of thumbs for gasoline or diesel, if that's what you use to power your vehicle, is to have at least enough 5-gallon cans put away so that you can fill up your vehicle at least one full time, right? And hopefully that'll be enough to get us through a crisis. Because whenever circumstances are in a way that that's dire, right? Say the supermarket's closed. Let's say that the job's closed. Let's say, whatever happens that disrupts your life. Usually we don't drive as much, right? During COVID, right? Were people driving as much? No. One of the things that a lot of businesses did is people were working from home, so they didn't have to drive as much. So even though you're only putting away 5 or 6 or 7 5-gallon containers of gas, let's say, to fill up your vehicle, whatever it may be, that may last you a lot longer than what it would normally last you during normal circumstances. So I don't see any good way out. That's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I do not see a good way out for the United States of America in this thing that's going on with Iran. I just don't see a good way out either way. And I mentioned on one of my previous videos, I'm not sure which one, if it was, I don't know which one, 1 or 2 days ago, I said that there's no way of fighting an ideology. You cannot, listen to this, so it can make sense to some of you that maybe don't understand what I mean, that there's no way of winning against ideology. All right, let's, what happened in 1776? We had a foreign government come into America, or North America, because it wasn't the United States of America yet, right? But we had a foreign government come in and try to tell a bunch of people that had settled here that earned everything that they had, even though it wasn't much back then, but they earned everything that they had with their labor, with their sweat, their tears, blood, and in a lot of cases gave up their lives. They try to tell a whole bunch of people like that, a bunch of party people, that, hey, you're going to do what we want you to do. We're going to tax you what we want to tax you. We're going to take away your guns, whether you like it or not. And what happened? Well, we all know what happened. America was born. The United States of America was born. Why? Because freedom, ladies and gentlemen, freedom is an ideology. We are the freest nation in the world because of who we are, of what we believe. Freedom is more important to Americans, in my honest opinion, than pretty much anything else, except for the good Lord above. And he allows us to have that freedom of will, to choose freedom. That's one of the most important things that we can have. Why? Because without freedom, there's really nothing. All you are is a shell of who you are. Look at all these other countries around us. And I'm not going to call any country out, and say this or that, but look at all these other countries around us that are losing their freedoms. They're like a shell of what they once were. And we can still sit here and talk how we want to talk, when we want to talk, and for the most part, not be afraid of someone knocking on your door and asking you why did you post this Facebook post, or why did you put this on X, or etc. I understand there's a few laws against what you can say, and I would have to say that I agree with some of those. I can't just come on here and say, hey, I'm going to do this and do this and this and this and that to you, especially if it's things that are illegal. But you know what I mean as far as freedom goes. That's an ideology. Does any American here think that if any foreign government came to this land and tried to strip us of our freedoms, like just our basic freedoms, that we would just stand up and take it? Absolutely not. Same thing with these people over there in the Islamic Republic of Iran. They have an ideology and they will fight to the last man for that. That is what they believe in their hearts. How do you win that war? Look at Vietnam. In Vietnam, we could still be there in Vietnam and they would still be fighting. Why? Because they weren't merely fighting for land, right? They were fighting for their ideology. They were fighting for what they believed in. That's what they were fighting for, right? And if this goes on any longer and we start having more and more and more, God forbid, knock on wood, flag draped coffins coming to the United States of America, I don't think that the American people are going to take that very favorably. I think it would be an uproar, especially after having spent 20 plus years in the Middle East fighting an ideology. That's what we were fighting in Afghanistan, an ideology. Unfortunately, human beings are very good at going to war against each other. But anyways, if you guys want to carry on that conversation, put it all in caps and I'll try to catch something. Oh my goodness, $5.39 at Costco in California. How you doing, Tina? Good to see you. Margarita, how you doing? Satoshi's in the house. How you doing? Yeah, someone asked, what is a sleeper cell? I'm just going to say it in layman terms. I'll say it in layman terms. Thanks, Randy. A sleeper cell is just a bad character that was positioned within the U.S. by another country in order so that when that country's government gives them the order, they can go out and do bad things. They can do sabotage. They can do T attacks, you know, when they go out and do bad things to people on the street for no reason. So during the days when the borders were wide open, there were over 2 million people that came through the borders that are called gotaways because they were never apprehended. They were never screened, none of that stuff. So the government doesn't even know who these people are. And if you remember those videos from that time period, you remember that a lot of the people coming through were single military age males. From Asia, right? From China, from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from Iran, you know, from South America. Excuse me. There's a lot of military age males coming through, okay? In nice clothes, right? In nice shoes, you know, paying the most money to get through the easiest way, through the southern border. So a lot of those people are suspected of being, not all of them, a lot of them are suspected of being part of sleeper cells, which is just people that are being positioned in different places throughout the country in order to create chaos should they ever be given the order. So that's what a sleeper cell is. And even our own government has acknowledged that there are sleeper cells here in the U.S. So you just need to, I mean, you know, this is one of those times that I hope that everyone that's talking like this, like I am now, is 100% wrong, because this is not what we want, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I've told you in a previous live stream, I told you that I'm like torn. I'm torn about this war going on. I can sit here and argue each side. And that's why I'm torn over it. I can sit here and argue each side, you know. So, but the thing is this. The thing is this, and if you're torn over it as well, I'm going to go ahead and give you the cure for not being torn over it, right? And not feeling terrible about it all the time. The thing is this, is that it doesn't matter how we feel. It doesn't matter, because they would have done it anyways. Whoever made this decision, whether it was President Trump or his handler, whoever it is, whoever made the decision, right? They were going to make it whether we liked it or not. Take a look at that Save America Act, which the main portion of that law that they want to pass is that we need to have voter ID. We need to make sure that you are a citizen of the United States before you can vote in a federal election. Nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. About 84% of the American people in total, in aggregate, not just 84% of whites, not just 84% of Republicans, actually it's like 98% of Republicans, right? But not just 84% of whites or you know, 84% of this race or that race. No, 84% of the American people in aggregate, meaning when you take everyone, Americans, right? Americans. Because you see, there's no such thing as Black American or white American or Chinese American or whatever. We're Americans. So 84% of Americans are in favor of passing that law. Why haven't they passed it? If they are there to represent us, I mean, last I knew, 84 is a lot bigger than 51, right? You only need 51% of the Congress, right, to pass it. I'm not sure if in the Senate for something like that, you need 60 or 51, if 51 is enough. But you only need 51%, right? 84 is a lot more than 51, right? Why haven't they passed it? Why? Because they are not representing we the people. There's a few players in there that are great people. They're good players. We're like, yes, that person belongs in Congress. Yes, he's doing a great job. He's a patriot. He loves America. And they do. But most of them, ladies and gentlemen, are not. And just this law right here that they're refusing to pass when 80+% of the American people want it passed, that tells you right there that most of them are not. They are not here for you. And if you think that your SNAP benefits or whatever it is that you're getting, even my retirement, right? If you think it's going to be there when all this goes down, it may still be there. It may still be there, but what will it buy you? What's it going to buy you? All right. Take your average salary from back in 1971, 72, that time frame, right? Before he took us off the gold standard, right? Take your average salary. I think it was like $8,000 a year or $9,000 a year. Could anyone live on $9,000 a year today? Could anyone raise a family? Because that's what the average family back then could do with $9,000, $10,000. You could raise a family, your garden variety family in the U.S. You could have a house with a white picket fence. You could have one car. You could send your children to school, to college on that salary. But it can't do that now. Now, take whatever you're making now. The average income for a single person in the U.S. is $50,000, $40-something thousand. The average income for a household is about $85,000 or so. All right. So now it takes about 9 times more than what it took back in 1970, let's say. Right. But the difference is that now both husband and wife have to work to make that household income, right? Because they can't survive on $50,000 a year or $45,000 a year, whatever the basic income is for one person. They can't survive on that anymore. Now it takes 2 times what it takes for one person, obviously. Now it takes 9 times more than what it took back in the early 70s. What do you think is going to happen when we switch over to our new system? To that new system that they've got waiting for us, be it a digital currency, be it an ID, a digital ID, whatever it may be. What do you think is going to happen? And the dollar amounts don't really matter. What really matters is how much of your labor is it going to cost you to maintain the same standard of living that you live now? Because now it takes 2 people working full-time, and in some cases, and then some. On average, it takes 2 people working full-time to just keep their heads above water. How can I say this with certainty? Well, about 75% of all Americans don't have $500 for an emergency. They don't have $500 in the bank that they can use for an emergency. So that's why I say with certainty that now it takes 2 people, if not more, working full-time in order to support a household. Do you think it's going to get better the next time that they change the financial system? Or do you think that maybe we'll continue to do the same thing that they've done before because they've gotten away with it so many times before? The wealth disparity within the U.S., I can say this probably for other countries as well, is going to continue to widen. There's going to be more than likely 2 classes of citizens. They're going to be the haves and the have-nots. And a lot of people would argue that we're pretty darn close to that right now. And it's going to take a very long time to fix this. It is fixable. The reason I say it's fixable is because we have the Constitution of the United States of America. And as we can change things around to where our children are being taught the right things, not only by their parents, but by the schools also we go to. Instead of being indoctrinated as long as they are taught the right things, and you can actually start teaching the children about the Constitution in school and what it really means, it will take a generation or two for things to actually turn around to where we are back to where we used to be, to where we only had one person in the household working, where manufacturing is here in the United States for all of the things that we needed for ourselves. We can export our excess, but keep the things that we needed for ourselves because we made them here first. So when you manufacture within your country, usually you can keep those things first. It's not going to be a globalized world anymore. The world is going to be fragmented, and it's already starting to become fragmented. All right. So countries are going to have to learn how to manufacture their stuff and have good partners or good friends throughout the international community that they can trade back and forth with. But that's years and years down the road. And we don't prepare for the rest of our lives because we think that some kind of crisis is going to come along that's going to last forever, right? It's not going to last forever. It's more than likely going to last years. But how you position yourself right now in every way that you can is what's going to determine what your standard of living is going to look like in the next several years. So, you know what? Look at that. Oh, my goodness. I can't believe that I went on this long. This is probably the longest that I've gone talking in a while. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Afferty asks, how are Michael and Victor both doing good? All right. Victor's actually still working, man. He's been putting in a lot of hours lately. A lot of hours. So his birthday's coming up. All right. So I have to cook him a Reuben sandwich because every year for his birthday, I cook him a Reuben sandwich. That's like his favorite. I think that's the only time of the year that he eats it too, is when I cook it. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's the thing. We have to start teaching the history the way that it really happened instead of lies. You know how there's some parts of the Bible, the New Bible, that are missing, and they take those parts out on purpose. But FDR's government did it, and all our history books lied about it. Yeah, everyone thinks when you go to school, everyone thinks, oh, FDR was the greatest president. Goodness gracious. I mean, just look at what he did. Look at what he started in this country. What he did is 100% treasonous. I mean, I can get into it if you want. As far as when he confiscated the gold, that was 100% treasonous, and the people didn't even understand. The people back in the 30s, they may have been greedy. That's maybe what somewhat caused the crash from 1929, was that everyone was leveraged to the hills, on stocks because they wanted more and more and more, right? So in the stock market, they started margin calls and people couldn't cover it. They had borrowed money in order to cover it. They lost their houses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But what he did was 100% criminal. And even though the people in that era back then, they were very well educated, a lot more so than we are now, than the general population is now. But they still fell for it, and he is still championed for getting us out of the Great Depression. When he didn't get us out of the Great Depression, ladies and gentlemen, all he did was steal the Americans' money in order to use that same money to put them to work. That's what he did. But he didn't say it like that. He said it was to save America. We're going to save the United States. We have to do this in order to create jobs. So we have to steal your money so that we can then inflate the money supply and keep the real money that we took from you, and then take that money and pay you to go dig ditches. Well, but a lot of people don't understand that because that's not how it's taught. It's not how it's taught in schools, because they don't teach them what really happened. They teach people what they want to know. Hey, Sparky's Run, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm probably really super far behind. Yeah, I am. Hey, Scott, how you doing, Scott? Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Potato Head is in the way. Oh, look at that. Safeway has canned vegetables for $0.25. Oh, my goodness. Man, I would be making multiple trips to the store if I could. 25 cents a piece. Man, that is awesome. I mean, I'd probably just be buying green beans because green beans is pretty much the only vegetable I can eat. Cabbage, You know, and every once in a while, if I'm on a cheat day, I can eat some just a little bit of carrots and maybe broccoli now and then. But I almost never eat it anyways because I like that stuff. Hold your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Forrest is in the house. What's up, Forrest? Good to see you. Yeah. Is the internet messed up? It's where I'm at, it's about 6 o'clock in the evening. I thought I'd try a little bit of a later show today to see if maybe some people that normally can't show up, maybe see if some people would show up. Give me a 1 if I'm coming in loud and clear, and give me a 2 if I'm coming in fuzzy. Hopefully, I'm at least coming in loud and clear. Okay, I'm going to go all the way down just to make sure. Let me know how I'm coming in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go all the way down. Okay, I'm coming in 1. I got 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, sorry about that. Let me go and grab my hotspot. Let me put it right here. Hopefully that'll make it a little bit better. The internet is what it is, ladies and gentlemen, and for what is it? Fiber optic internet. We can actually get fiber optic internet here, but it's very expensive. So I'm like, I'll just use the hotspot on my phone. That's the best that I can do right now. I got a 1.5. Look at that. Well, I hope you can at least hear me. I mean, I don't know if it's that great. Okay. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Let's see. See more. My husband is diabetic, and we made spaghetti with the low carb noodles you talked about. Very good. Yep, those things are awesome. And the funny thing is that I have those noodles still, but I maybe use 1 pack of those cognac noodles, maybe 1 pack a month. It's all I crave it. You know, whenever I'm craving like a spaghetti dinner or something with noodles in it, I usually have it, but I don't crave it that often. So they last me a pretty long time because those little packs, they come out to be $3 or $4 a pack or something like that. So it's kind of pricey, but hey, you know, if it fills that urge that you're having to have some noodles, is great. Yeah, Starlink is an option here, but like I said, they have fiber optic here, but it's just pretty expensive. Let's see. Let's see. Stormy asks, Rudy, would a trade for $300 in junk silver be a good trade for 100 ounces of silver rounds? So if you take 300 and divide it by 1.4, let me get my calculator real quick. So, Stormy, $1.40 of junk silver equals 1 ounce, has 1 ounce of silver. So if you take like 4 quarters and 4 dimes, that's 1 ounce of pure silver in that amount. So if you take 300 divided by 1.4, oh, I would say no. I would say that's not a good price because $300 face value of junk silver is a little more than 200 ounces of pure silver. So I would say no. And let's see, what's junk silver going for nowadays? Let's go cheap. Let's go 300 times. What's a dollar going for of junk silver? Let me see if I can find it here real quick. I'm going to give you a good answer to that because I'm pretty sure it's no. Okay, right. Let's refresh this. This has a top price of $80, and it's not $80 right now. We can talk about silver too if you want. Right now it's just shy of 70. So Come on now. Where's my $1 coins? Go. Morgan dollar. $53. So $1 of junk right now is 53 bucks. So you're looking at 1,500? No. Oh my goodness, that's a lot. Yeah, definitely. I'm taking my time on this one because I want to. This is a lot. So 300 times 53. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. $300 worth of junk silver at spot. Just at spot is about $15,000. Right, at spot. And let's say you want to sell it. Let's say they gave you 20% back. Right, that's still $12,000. 100 ounces of silver rounds at spot is only $7,000. I would not do it. That's a big hit right there. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that junk silver or constitutional silver, it's going to come back to a time like it was before where the premiums were like double, where they're in such high demand, right? So, I mean, I'm holding on to what I have. I'm not getting rid of it, you know, so there's going to come a time. It's all a cycle and it'll happen again. You'll be, in my opinion, you'll be happy that you kept your constitutional silver. Does typing your videos help you? I think so. It's supposed to, but I really don't know. Someone said they found some cognac noodles and they're going to try them out. They're like rice noodles. So cognac noodles, they have the consistency of like rice noodles. And they don't have any flavor. They usually take on the flavor of whatever you're cooking them with. So, and I like that about them too, because they don't have a flavor with an aftertaste or nothing. They're just, if you eat them with nothing else on them, just by themselves, it's going to taste like you're eating water, you know, with the texture of noodles, of like rice noodles. But if you put them in spaghetti sauce or in an Alfredo, you know, or something like that, that's what they're going to take on the flavor of. My favorite way to eat them is like in a beef stroganoff. Yeah, this energy crisis is not going to be a joke. I mean, prices are going to go up, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to, man, I'm kind of curious, you know, I'm kind of curious to see how high gas prices are going to go in the US. I mean, I don't know. I mean, all this thing about 4D chat and stuff like that, I hope that the president is got something up his sleeve where he's going to be like, aha, I gotcha, see? And then he's like, you see, I told you, America, this was just temporary. It's going to be fine. You know, we got I hope so. I hope that's the case. But looking at it, you know, from a bird's eye view, I guess you can say, looking at everything, looking at the world, looking at our adversaries, looking at what this is, all the suffering that this is causing around the world to countries that are actually our allies, you know, how long are they going to go? How long is India going to go without gas? What about Australia? They're having a fuel issue too. You know, what about all of these the Philippines? They're out of fuel. You know, and these are all our allies. You know, how long are they going to go without gas, without electricity, you know, without energy, you know, without oil, before they're like, no, man, we can't do it anymore. And when you think about it, if they are our, you know, if they're our friends and we need them to come and help us, how are they going to be able to come and help us if they can't help themselves because they don't have energy that they require? I don't know. Crazy stuff. Out of all of the years that I've been doing this with you all and prepping and stuff, I think that this time is probably the most important time that we are prepared. Yeah, if you have a question, please ask it all in caps. That way hopefully I can catch it. Okay. That's a great question. Ginger, Why is gas high when we are energy independent? Because our oil and our natural gas is in a world market. It operates in a world market. So when these companies dig it out of the ground or drill it, whatever it is, it goes into the world market, not just the U.S. So, and this is such an oxymoron, really, in a way. We are competing with the world on price, on stuff that comes out of our ground. That's why I said, if I was president for a day, I'd be a tyrant and say, we are going to keep what we produce, and whatever's left over, we can trade with other countries. But we're going to make sure that we have what we need first at a reasonable price, at a price that is competitive, that will keep, I wouldn't set prices because I don't believe in setting prices. But I would set forth the conditions that, of course, if we make it here, if we drill it here, it's going to be less expensive here. Why? Because if you drill here or if you manufacture here, you shouldn't have to be paying the same amount of taxes that you would pay if it's from outside of our borders, right? That just makes sense. So it means that we should get those things a lot more inexpensive than what someone would be getting it if they were buying it from us outside of our borders, right? It's like if we drill oil and we use oil, we keep that oil first. Whatever we use, and whatever we don't need can be exported out. Same thing with everything. Then, of course, those things that we don't grow here, that we don't manufacture here, guess what countries are going to be doing? They're going to be charging us what they want to charge us for it, whatever the market would bear. So if you want your cup of coffee in the morning and you're not willing to pay what it costs to import coffee, then you'll just have to go without, right? But whatever we grow here, whatever we drill here, whatever resources we have here, we use first. But I'll never be president because I wasn't born here. Let's see here. Lafferty, India sent 3 huge ships to the Strait of Hormuz and refused the $2 million bribe. Good for them. Good for them. Oh, Stormy, someone wants to give you $300 in junk silver for 100 ounces of silver. This is what I would do. All right, I'm not telling you what to do. What I would do in that case is I would take half of it. Excuse me, if you don't have any pure silver, if I didn't have any pure silver, if all I had was the 300 face value of junk silver, if that's all I had, I would take, well, I wouldn't say all half of it. Maybe I'd, take a third and trade it for that silver, but I would try to get a little bit more. Excuse me. I would try to get a little bit more. So do math. So if let's say, for example, let's say that $140 worth of your junk silver is worth 100 ounces of silver, right? Spot for spot. I would say, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $100 worth for 50 ounces. That to me would be a pretty good trade, because $100 worth is about $5,500. 50 ounces is roughly almost $4,000 after you include your premium. So you're about $1,000 apart. So what you're doing is you're trading some of your junk to make sure that you have some pure silver. And that's what I would do if I wanted to do that, if I didn't have any pure silver rounds. First time live streamer, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's see, who is this? Shan Loves to Garden. Shan Loves to Garden, welcome. Thanks for being here. Yeah, the U.S. is oil rich but gas poor. Well, mainly California. California is very gas poor because they shut down their refineries. However, I do believe that President Trump, did some kind of an order or use kind of a law or something to tell them that they have to restart them for national security or something like that. But you're right. We need more refineries. We definitely need more refineries in the U.S. Not that I know of. I think that let me see. Judy asked, are we opening new gas and oil refineries in the U.S. right now? Not that I know of, with the exception of a few of them that are being recommissioned, that are mothballed, but they're being recommissioned so that they can actually get back to business. Will this conflict destroy the petrodollar? I believe that it's destroying the petrodollar. And I believe that the tokenization scheme that they got going on, and the stable coins that they've implemented into the Genius Act, I believe that that's going to be the replacement of the petrodollar. See, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be your assets. Your assets that get tokenized are going to replace the petrodollar. And that's just saying it in very, very simple terms. But pretty much that's what's going to happen. Baby Root, I won't even read this, but I'll leave it there in case anybody wants to read it. But I think that's hilarious. That's funny. Let's see. Rudy, would you support the USA taking control of Cuba? Okay. Morally speaking, like, the Cuban people have been pretty much imprisoned in that island for what, 50, 60 years, something like that now. Morally speaking, I would like to see them regain their liberty. I would like to see them regain their sovereignty instead of being imprisoned within their own land, right? Because that's what they are right now. All right, so that's one side of the argument. Whether the U.S. should do it or not, the other side of the argument, and you see, this is the problem. This is the problem with being the police of the world, ladies and gentlemen, is that there are plenty of countries out there that morally deserve and need help because they are imprisoned by an evil regime, right? However, taking the other side of the conversation, and I'm sure that this is how most Americans feel. They feel one way or the other. I've got friends that are Cuban that I'm sure they would love nothing more than to see that dictatorship, communist regime in Cuba fall and for their people to have their land back. I'm sure that they would love nothing more than that. And I would love that for them, right? But taking the other side of that argument is, don't we have enough problems in the United States of America as it is? And I think that both arguments are justified. Both sides, have pretty much equal weight. You on one side, you're going from the moral perspective. Shouldn't we help people that need to be helped? That's what Americans do. And when I say Americans, I don't mean the government. I said Americans. That's what Americans do. We help each other. Whenever there's some kind of a crisis, a hurricane, tornado, whatever, who do you see out there helping people? It's not FEMA, right? It's community. It's Americans helping your neighbors. That's what we do, right? But then the other side is this. If there is a hurricane or if there is a tornado and you see that your neighbor's house got blown away, but your house got blown away too, who are you going to look for first under the rubbish? Your children or your neighbor's children? Who are you going to look for first? So there's two sides to that argument, so, that's something that always hangs me up, because, what if we wouldn't have gone to Germany? What would have happened if the U.S. wouldn't have gone to Germany? How many more lives would have been lost? I don't know, man. It's a really tough one. Hey, thanks a lot, Forrest, for putting me on the spot. All right. That's a tough one. I can't sit here and just blow smoke up your six, ladies and gentlemen. It's just the way it is. Nobody's perfect, and I'm definitely not anywhere near from being perfect or close to it. But that question right there is one that always hangs me up. Is like, should we be intervening in these other countries, situation? And then one of the other things that I think about is, well, you know what? The Iranian people, they've been captive under this regime for 50 years. 50 years, and this is another argument. I'm not saying this from the heart. I'm just saying this like, I'm sure that other people think about this. Like, why haven't they stood up? I mean, I know one of the reasons why they haven't stood up is because they don't have a Second Amendment. One of the first things that they did when they took over that country was strip everyone of their right to bear arms, for good reason, because they knew that in order for someone to revolt against a tyrannical government, that they need arms. They need them. So why haven't they revolted? That's another argument that anyone can use. It's like when I was in Afghanistan, towards the end of that deployment, I was pretty much angry all the time because we did so many missions outside the wire. And there's so many times that we would go through not towns, but villages. They don't call them towns over there, but like villages. And we would see men capable of fighting all over the place, but they weren't fighting. And then I was like, well, then why are we here? If they're not willing to fight for their country, what are we doing here? And that's one of the things that used to make me an angry person back there. I stopped being angry though, ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can cut this. First and foremost, I'm America first and foremost. All right. But one thing that I do understand is that whether our commander in chief, whether our president, whatever you want to call him, whether president of the United States, it doesn't matter who it is, you should always want that person, whoever's in the office, to succeed as long as they're doing it for America, right? You should want your president to succeed, to be successful, as long as they're doing it for America, as long as they're doing it for the American people. Let me see. Sun Jama Card or something like that. How you doing? USA messes everything up they touch, but Cuban people are so suppressed. Yes, they are. You know what? I would add to that. USA messes everything up. I would add the U.S. government. It's the U.S. government, ladies and gentlemen. Like I told you during the beginning of this live stream, more than 80% of the American people want the Save America Act passed, but they can't pass it. It's because our representatives, for the most part, all right, I'm not saying all, and the reason I repeat myself is because some people may not have been here when I first said it. For the most part, most of our representatives are paid and bought, or are bought and paid for by special interest. They don't care about you, and they don't care about me. That's why you need to prep. That's why you need to stay prepared, because when it hits the fan, ain't nobody going to come and save you except for yourself and whatever community you've built around you, right? So yeah, the U.S. government messes everything up. I mean, the Pentagon, they haven't passed an audit in how many years now? But if you forget to keep that one receipt, that you claimed on your taxes, forget it. You're going to be paying for that, okay? But they haven't passed an audit in years. I don't know. I think it's 9 years now or something like that. Let me see. Tina says, I live next to a refinery in California. You're saying it's going to stay open. From what I understand, I'm not sure if that exact same refinery there, because I know that Newsom had scheduled 1 or 2 refineries this year to shut down. I'm not sure if that exact one you're talking about, but I remember hearing something about President Trump saying, no, you're going to keep these refineries open, or you're going to open up a couple of them that have been mothballed. Thank goodness that they were just mothballed. And mothball means that they just they put them away. They stopped using them, but they left them there in case they needed to restart them, that they could. Let me see. My son-in-law and his family came to the U.S. from Cuba when they were 3. When he was 3, they pray. Yeah, that would be awesome. You know what? I mean, that would make me so happy. It would make me so happy for my buddy. All right, it would make me so happy for my friend who's Cuban. You know, because I know that he would be on that plane going back to see his homeland. And what I mean by his homeland is where he was born, where he was raised. And trust me, he is 100% American, okay? He's been here since he was like 16, I think he told me. This guy is 100% American, all right? But he's Cuban, all right? And there's nothing wrong with loving your culture from where you came, from where you were born, all right? But he's 100% American, I can guarantee you that. It's like me. Hey, listen, I love plantains. I love juca, right? I love Dominican rice, the way that the way that my mom used to make it, and the way, well, I can't eat it anymore, but I still know how to make it. I have sancocho. I love all that stuff. But look, I also love me some pizza. I love me some cheeseburgers, all right? As long as it's taquito bread on it. You know, I love the culture of America. I love Thanksgiving. You know, I like that we celebrate Christmas here in the United States of America. You know, I don't like a lot of the holidays that we have now because it's more consumerism than anything else. But I think you understand what I mean. If anyone gave me a choice right now, you can move to any country in the world. You can move to any country in the world that you want, and we'll give you $5 million. In all honesty, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what country I would want to move to. There's nowhere else that I would want to live, you know? Heck, I haven't renewed my passport, and I think it's been expired for like over 10 years now. And I'm like, what do I need it for? I really don't want to go anywhere else. Everything that I want to see and that I want to do, I can do right here in the US of A. All I need is a Buc-ee's. All right, all I need is a Buc-ee's and a vehicle to be able to get around from Buc-ee's to Buc-ee's. All right, and I'm good. Rudy, why am I seeing people saying, why doesn't Trump and all politicians send their sons? Hey, you know what? I think that the politicians themselves should be the ones going to war. I think that if a politician starts a war, that they should be the ones in the front line. Right? I know that, I know it's not going to happen. I understand. But like in the olden days, that's what they used to do. You know, at least the ones that were worth something, you know, they used to be in the front lines right there with their men, you know. But that's not going to happen. You know, it's never going to happen. Do you all know who Greg Manarino is? Great guy, in my opinion. You know, he's a great guy, in my opinion. He was saying that there is nothing that the current system and those who manage the current, I'm paraphrasing, but he said pretty much that there's nothing that the current system and or those who manage this system will do in order for them to retain power. They don't care how many people, you know, have to be sacrificed. They don't care how much starvation there is or how much suffering there is. They will do whatever they have to do in order to stay in control and keep their power. And I can't say this with certainty, but I believe that a lot of this was planned a long time ago. Okay. I mean, take a look at, and I forget the name of that general, all right? But I'm sure that most of you have probably seen this video because it's been on YouTube for so long. But he said, he was a general. He says something. Yeah, I was back in the Pentagon a week later or so, and one of my aides came up to me and he said, "Sir, we're attacking Iraq, Iran, blah, blah." And he named 7 countries, and Iran was one of them. I think they're the last one. I think it was them, and there may be one more. But Iran was the last one of those countries that they said that they were attacking it. And then he asked his aide, "But why?" And his aide said, "I don't know." You know, so I think this has been planned for a really long time. See, the people that created the system, they knew that eventually one day this system would have to come to an end. And how do you do that? You do it with controlled chaos, right? You keep throwing crises and crises and crises. Look at the news. Look at the news. 24, 48 hours, that's the news cycle. If you're lucky, it's 48 hours. Usually it's a 24-hour news cycle. Everyone is so infiltrated with news. Whenever something happens, 5 minutes later, everybody in the world knows, right? If you have X or Twitter or whatever other, so Facebook, stuff like that, right? So they infiltrate the radio waves, right? The social media, they infiltrate everything with what they want you to believe, right? And then when something bad happens, they're going to tell you what they want you to want in order to fix it. And most people will fall for it. Why? Because they're doing everything in their power right now just to keep their heads above water. That family that has 2 or 3 children, that's working a full-time job, the mom and the dad, and they come home to maybe in hopes of maybe spending 1 or 2 hours with their children before they go to bed, and then they do it all over again the next day. Do you think they have time to research this stuff? Do you think they have time to question what they're being told by a source that they were taught by our education system to be trustworthy? They're not going to take the time to do that. They're worried about how they pay the mortgage. They're worried about how they're going to keep the lights on with electricity rates going the way they're worried about cutting coupons so that they can go get those 25-cent green beans. If they can get lucky enough to get that, and in the worst type scenario, they're worried about, hey, is the food bank going to be open tomorrow so I can go get some food to make sure that my children are hungry. They look at all of the stuff that we look at. I can't say I can blame them. California here, all refineries will leave by 2029. Well, if refineries by 2029 in California, say to $15 a gallon or $20 a gallon gas, and that's the plan all along. Okay, let's see. Okay, just ladies and gentlemen, low blood pressure is in the house. What's up, low blood pressure? Hey, low blood pressure. Next time I go to Texas, I'm gonna have to hit you up so that we can go to Buc-ee's together and have a brisket sandwich. I'll tell you what, a lot more of you joined in today than what I thought. I was like, you know what? This is probably the latest live stream that I've done in a long time. I don't think I've done an earlier one. It's already 6:39 here, my time. That means that if you're in the East Coast, it's about almost 11 o'clock. How many of you are from the East Coast? Put East Coast down in the comments if you're here from the East Coast. Yep. Look, I have to agree with that. That's the thing. That's George Washington. He said that we should stay away from foreign entanglements, and maybe that was during a time where the people have more of a choice because they were more free. And what I mean by more free is that they can keep more of what they earned, because your labor, ladies and gentlemen, is your freedom. It's what allows you to do what you want to do. Hey, let's see. Macy 2951. Hello, how are you? Hi, I am starting from nothing, saved in metals. From nothing, saved in metals. What would you get for your first $1,000? Look, what I'm going to say right now is not financial advice. And what I'm going to say about the metals markets right now is just what I think, right? So I have to put that out there first. I believe that, and I could be wrong, ladies and gentlemen, so do your own research. I believe that silver is going to touch the $50 mark, which is a good thing. In my opinion, it is a very good thing that silver goes down and hits that $50 mark. But I don't believe that it's going to stay there for very long. I think it's going to hit it. It's going to consolidate for a little bit. All right. And when I say for very long, it could be in that area. It could be in the 45, 50, 60, 45, 50, 60. It could be in that area for months. And I think that would be a really good thing if it's in that area for months. It would be a great thing, right? Because it'll give people more of a chance to accumulate and give those that are just starting out to get it on the cheap. So if I had $1,000 right now and I didn't have any silver whatsoever, what I would do is I would go out there and maybe spend a couple $100 on junk silver, get some quarters and dimes. That's what I would do. And then I would wait for silver to come down. Let's say right now it's at $69 an ounce. Is that it? Let me make sure. Let me double check. Yeah, right now silver is at about $69 an ounce, 68 something, right? I would maybe wait for it to get down to 65 or so, because I see it getting down to at least 65. And then maybe I go buy me a couple of ounces. And so I would dollar cost average in. And so let's say maybe every 2 weeks I go and spend a couple $100 on silver. And if it goes up to like 70, then I would wait till it came back down. Because unless you know a little bit of technical analysis, then maybe you should just go out there and get yourself $200 or $300 worth of junk, and then the rest in silver rounds, right? Just so you can have that base. Because right now, me looking at the charts, I can see that we have a new ceiling. Well, not a ceiling, but a new line of resistance. We have a new line of resistance, which is about $71, $72. And until we break above that, you know, we're not looking at no $120, $150 silver yet. Eventually, we're going to get there, in my opinion. In my opinion, silver is going to be in the hundreds, but it's not going to be anytime soon, you know, like the next few months. It may even take another year or two before we get above that $150, $120 mark, whatever it is, right? But if you're into silver for the right reasons, that doesn't matter to you. If you're into silver and gold for the right reasons, you want it to go down some. You really do. It's really the best thing for the market right now for that to happen. So I would just dollar cost average in, Macy. You know, if you want to spend it all right now so that you know that you have it, you know, so that you know that you have, go ahead and get it. I would get at least $200 or $300 worth of junk silver. And then I would get the rest in the cheapest pure silver that I could get, like $9.99. Like this. This is a 999 round, right? I wouldn't get any silver eagles, believe it or not. If you're only getting $1,000 worth or so, I wouldn't get any silver eagles. I would get generic rounds. You know, a round that's not a coin. This is a round, not a coin, but it's still pure silver because you pay a lot less in premium for those. Anyways, that's just the way I would do it, you know. But I would say that if you don't have a core, if you're just starting, if you have zero, I would say go ahead and get you, split it up, you know, 70, 30, 70 going to pure silver, 30 going to like, you know, going to junk silver, stuff like that. Oh, look at that. We've got a whole bunch of East Coast in the house. Hey, thank you guys for staying up this late. Another East Coast right there, Frank. Art and Soul is in the house. Alfred, good evening to you. East Coast in Connecticut. Look at that. The Gulf of Texas. All right. Let me see. Tricia, how you doing? Tricia. I said your name with a Spanish accent there. Tricia. All right. Salt Lake City, Utah is in the house. Yeah, I heard about this. You know, I didn't. What can I say? Nothing surprises me anymore. Energy lockdowns, right? Or fuel lockdowns. If we, the American people, fall for this, if we allow this to happen, we deserve what we get. Okay. But again, if you can't get gas, you know, then what are you going to do? You know, you're going to have to walk everywhere. Maybe it'd be good for us. We can walk everywhere. Oh, you have a Buc-ee's 5 miles down the road. You know what? Look, nothing against Alabama, okay? Nothing against Alabama or any other state. I think Buc-ee's messed up. I think Buc-ee's should have left Buc-ee's in Texas. It should have been a Texas thing and only that. They should have never opened up any Buc-ee's anywhere else. Why? Because every time that I think about Buc-ee's, I think about Texas. That's where it started, right? I do believe Buc-ee's started in Texas. It's a big Texas thing. They should have just left it in Texas. But good for you guys that got a Buc-ee's where you are. I just think that when things expand a lot, that they to lose their brand. It starts to become the quality starts to go away little by little over the years, you know. But I do. I love Buc-ee's. I can't wait to go back just for Buc-ee's. Oh, look at that. Low blood pressure beat me to it. Low blood pressure says Buc-ee's outside of Texas are not considered. I should have just read comment low blood pressure. I heard something about energy lockdowns in another country. Maybe it was the Philippines or India or something like that. I don't know. But I haven't seen anything about it coming here. But I mean, in all honesty, what do you need energy lockdowns for? For real, like if there's not enough gas for people to go to work, then they're not going to be able to go to work because there's no gas. So there's your lockdown without you having to tell people that you have to stay home. No one should be told that they have to stay home. Even if there is some kind of a health crisis, you shouldn't be told that you have to stay home. Okay? If you want to take the chance to go out there and get sick because there's a health crisis, then it's your life to do with what you want, right? And if you get sick and something happens and you pass away, well, okay. That was the consequences of your actions based on the freedoms that you were allowed, you know, because we are allowed our freedoms, unfortunately, right? Because we don't have the power of the state the way that the state has the power of the state, right? So those are just the consequences of your actions based on your freedoms, you know, and you decided to do what you wanted to do. So there shouldn't be any kind of lockdowns whatsoever. Upstate New York, Amanda. Upstate New York, welcome. Oh, look at this. Now, this is the real East Coast right here, all the way from Puerto Rico. Who's this right here? Kathy, AP. I'm so glad that I listened. Man, you bought it under 28. Isn't that awesome? So even if silver goes down to $50 or $60, you're good. But ladies and gentlemen, listen. Again, if you bought silver for the right reasons, you have nothing to worry about. In the long term, in my opinion, silver is going to gain value instead of just keep up with inflation. It really will. All right. Hello, Rudy. Have you ever been interviewed by another channel? I mean, I've had some collaborations here and there, but you know what? I'm not really that big into doing that kind of stuff anymore. I would really like to have Gray Man back on the channel, him and me just chat back and forth with you all one day, because, you know, Gray Man is my good friend, you know, and he's been so busy lately. You know, he's really busy working on a project. So who knows, maybe one of these days I'll surprise you all. And hey, Gray Man, if you're watching, Gray, go ahead and send me a text so I can send you a link so you can join in. But he's probably not watching. He's been working on a project. Plus, it's late over there. It's late in Florida. All the way from Eastern Pennsylvania. Welcome. Is that or Northeast Pennsylvania? Is that where the soda pop got taxed 100% here not too long ago? A few years back. I was teasing one of my buddies that went back home. He retired from the Army and he's from Pennsylvania. I was like, hey, man, you're going to have to take some soda from here. Take some soda pop from here and bring it back with you so you don't have to pay 100% tax. But I think that was just like in one city. Man, let me tell you what. I'm having a really good time just chit-chatting back and forth with you all, ladies and gentlemen. And there's still like 300 of you here. I'm just going to hang out here with you all, you know, until you tell me to leave. Yeah, I think that liquor is going to be a very good barter item, but also it's going to help a lot with, you know, as a medicinal product, right? Because, you know, you can use liquor for medicinal, disinfect, stuff like that. But I think it's going to be a great barter item if it becomes unavailable. You know, unfortunately, those people that really want it and need it are probably going to commit crimes to get the things that they need in order to use it to barter with, to get the liquor. You know, Margarita, I loved my visit to Texas when I went. When was it? I think a year ago or 2 years ago, a couple years ago. It was a great visit. I loved it. but it's so darn crowded there. You know, uh, I don't know if I could live there. I could probably, I have no problem spending a couple of weeks there. I actually have plans on going there next year in 2027. If everything is all right, I plan on going there next year. And who knows, maybe doing a little tour of the U.S., of several states within the U.S., but I don't know yet. We'll have to see how the finances work out for me. But I loved it there. I had such a good time, and a lot of the reason why I had such a good time while I was there is because my family that I went down there to visit. It was awesome. I spent a week with them, about a week or so with them, roughly, maybe a little less, like 4 days. But I spent a few days, and I had such a great time with them. And there's nothing more. There's nothing better than to visit family, to refresh soul. And it'd been a long time since I'd seen them. So it was in India that they were doing the fuel or the energy lockdowns. Yeah, that's great. Control, walk, bicycle, skateboard. Yeah, an electric bike would be nice. Electric bike would be really nice to have. I would really like to get an electric tricycle, with a big bucket in the back. That'd be pretty neat. If Costco ever gets one of those, how Costco ever once in a while has something that normally you can't get where you're at. If they ever have like an electric tricycle with one of the big buckets in the back, I'd probably buy one. You know what I need to do, ladies and gentlemen? I need to find me a company that will send me one so I can review it. Let's see. Joanne, how you doing, Joanne? Energy lockdowns while they are planning on building hundreds of yeah. Energy lockdowns while they're building all these data processing plants or these data centers. Yeah, like I said, it all goes back to these representatives aren't here for you. They're not here for you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness, $23 an ounce. That's awesome. $1,800 gold. Awesome. Let's see. Big Country, how you doing? AP, is that Mount McKinney in the background painting? Been there twice. I think that's Denali. All right. That's actually I got that from a friend who goes out and he's like an amateur photographer, but he's really good. He goes out and he takes pictures around Alaska, and then he sends the pictures to this company that turns it into a painting. So yeah, that's really cool. I think that's Denali right there. I think. Oh man, that's not good. Dave's Bond says Doomsday Queen says government has purchased all the radiation pills. Yeah, that's not good. I mean, it's prophetic. And when I was telling you during the beginning of the live stream that when something big, it's going to be something that happens that's going to be really, really big that nobody will forget where they were when it happened. And that's one of the thoughts that I have. Is that one of these sleeper cells, has some kind of a nuclear device like a suitcase nuke or something like that. But it can really be anything. I think it would be more destructive if they sabotage, like our energy system more so than if they just put out a suitcase nuke. But a suitcase nuke, something like that would scare everyone. People would be so scared to go on with everyday life, and that's what they're after. They're after scaring people so much that it would then make change in the government, where people would be like, no, where people would insist, no, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But This has already been planned. You know, in a way, I kind of like think that whatever the crisis is going to be that they come up with has already been planned too. They're already working on it. Let's see. How you doing? Rudy, come to Mississippi. We love to. Oh, I would love. Hey, I would love to meet all you guys. You know, out of all of the people that I've ever met from the AP community, because I meet them, you know, out in the street. You know, I've never had one person be like a bad person. It's always been great. Like the last person that I met from the AP community, I seen him at the coin shop. You know, he just happened to be there, and I had to give him a silver coin because I met him out in the wild. And I always carry a few silver coins with me, either some junk silver or in that case, I think it was a full on silver. And so I gave him a silver coin. We talked for like 45 minutes. And it was like we've known each other for years, the way that we talked. You know, I've always had really, really good encounters with people out there, you know, and that just goes to show, you know, you keep good company. I've been to Mississippi once in my life, by the way, Al. All right. I've been to Mississippi once in my life. Meridian, Mississippi. Thank you, guys. Let's see. Okay. I'm bringing it down. You know, if you want me to shut down anytime soon. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about that draft thing. You know, I don't think that's going to go very well. You know, I'm not sure how successful they would be with the draft. I really don't. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, all in all, and you know, imagine that. Look, I have to agree with this. COVID was the test that we failed. I have to agree with that. We, as the American people, fail. But imagine this, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine if every family in the United States, and I know this is wishful thinking, okay, but we're just playing imagine. Imagine if every family in the United States had a 6-month supply of food, right? Imagine if they had a 2 or 3 month emergency fund, right? Imagine if they had medicine, you know, for 2 or 3 months, etc. In other words, imagine if every family in the U.S., every family unit had like 6 months worth of preps. Do you think that they would have gotten away with what they did during the health crisis, locking people down, telling them they couldn't do this or do that, telling them that they would get fired from their job, and a lot of people getting fired from their jobs because they didn't agree to do something to their bodies that they didn't want to? Right? Do you think that would have happened? I think that more than likely a majority of the people, if we were all prepared, majority of the people would have been, nope, we're not doing it. See ya. You can keep your job. See you. We just won't come in. Don't pay us. And the economy would have just stopped. Right. And then after a month of the government getting desperate and the people finding out what a hoax that was, you know, that we would have been able to make real change because the government would have then understood that it's we that have the power. But we've been put as a people, we've been put in a circumstance where we need the government. And when I say we, obviously, you can include yourself or not include yourself in there. But where we need the government. And why do I say that? Well, what is it? $1.4 trillion a year, I think, goes to Social Security. And listen, Social Security is a benefit, not an entitlement. And what I'm trying to say by that is that Social Security is something that you earned, that you paid into, right? But still, you depend on that Social Security check. I know that when I'm of age, I'm going to be getting my Social Security if it's still there. Yeah, I'm definitely going to sign up and get it as much as I can for as long as I can. Yep. Why? Because I've been paying into it my entire life, right? But what I'm getting at is that we depend on the government. We depend on that system. And what's another thing that we depend on them on? Medicare or Medicaid. Medicaid is $1 trillion+ a year, that we spend on that. We have 40+ million people in the United States of America that rely on the government for food assistance, and then millions that rely on the government for housing, that rely on the government to pay their electric bills. Now, we are in a place where a lot of the people in the United States, a very large block of the voting population in the United States, needs the government. And the government is going to continue to give them whatever they can give them in order to buy their votes. And that's just the way it's always worked. So we are in a tough place, And I mean, people are waking up. People are waking up, and they're understanding that they've been used for years. A certain part of the population has finally woken up and said, wait a minute, you guys have been using us for years just so that you can have a voting base. But look at what it's cost them. Look at what it's cost. It's cost them their sovereignty. It's cost them their dependency. They have to depend on someone else so that their children can eat. Look at what it costs you when you become dependent on the government. It pretty much costs you your freedom, because you're not free. You're not free at all. You're always waiting for the 5th of the month to come, or the 3rd, whatever day of the month it is. I ask myself sometimes, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if it all collapses? How are you going to make a living? Because I get a retirement check. What if that check stops coming? Or what if that check can't buy me anything? What am I going to do? Thank goodness I have a plan. I have a plan, and I put it in place, and hopefully it'll be okay, and hopefully I won't need to put that plan in place. Hopefully I'll be able to leave all of that stuff to my kids, right? But I've been thinking like this for a really long time, so I've been preparing for a really long time in case it does happen. But I would feel cheated. I would feel cheated if the day came when I was old enough to collect Social Security, something that I've been paying into since I was like 16 or 15. I think I started working when I was 15, where I was actually paying taxes out of my pay. So I've been putting money into the system for the last, 40 years roughly. And then another 10 years from now, I'll be able to collect Social Security, roughly eight or 10 years, something like that. And I'll feel cheated if that day comes and I can't collect something that I've been paying into for so long. I'll also feel cheated if that day comes and whatever I get, I'll only be able to buy a couple of cans of beans with it, But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is that if we see this coming down the road, it means that we should be preparing for it right now. And we all think that we're really well prepared until the crisis happens, and then we're like, oh, we could have done this better and we could have done that better. That's why I don't think you should ever stop preparing. You should always be looking into things. You should always be checking your stuff. You should be always trying to keep alert of what's going on around you. So Art and Sand and Soul says, no, you cannot stop yet, AP. Okay. All right. I guess I'll have to listen. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your questions and comments that you want me to share with everyone in case I miss it. Oh, you know what? I'm talking all the time. For those of you that are still here, if you are in the market to get freeze-dried egg powder from Nutrient Survival, all right? For those of you that don't know, they're only the best, what do you call it? What do you call this kind of food? Not freeze-dried. I was going to say dehydrated. They're only the best freeze-dried food there is, all right, for long-term storage. Check out my Amazon link. They're right there in the very first block. They're on a super sale, right, for like $20 less than what their regular ones cost. They made a mistake with Amazon. They put the wrong code on it, and they have to sell out whatever they have on Amazon so that they can continue to sell it at the regular price. So if you're in the market for that, you're never going to find them any cheaper than $40 a can. And that's how much they are. Let's see right here. Let's see. Counting the days. Counting the day. MTG says Social Security will be bankrupt by 2033. I think that by 2033, what they're saying is not necessarily bankrupt, but that in order to continue to pay out, that the recipients will have to take like a 25% haircut, something like that. So, but we'll see. Hey, we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, I'll still be on here by 2033. I'll let you know what happens. Because I think it is 2033 or 32 that I start collecting social. 7 years, 33. I think it's 33. Because I'm gonna apply for it as soon as I can. I'm not gonna wait. Spices are very, very important in my opinion. You can have the staples if that's all you can afford. Is just the staples: rice, beans, pasta, oats, things like that. But spices is really going to help you out, and also fats. Coconut oil will last pretty much forever, right? Unrefined coconut oil, the one that looks like a white paste, that is pretty much going to last forever. Let's see. I'm looking for anything. I'm looking to see if any of you have any powder, ladies and gentlemen. Milk powder purchase. Oh, you got some milk powder from Nutrient Survival? Cool. And you know what? They're coming out with a new product too, or a new lineup. And as soon as they do, I think I'm going to do a video on that, or put it in one of my videos, because it's a great idea that they're coming out with. Let's see, the Nutrient Survival, 25 years on the shelf. All right, they'll last 25 years on the shelf, but the fact of the matter is this, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's not the fact of the matter, because they haven't been around for 25 years. So let me go ahead and change my wording. I believe that it will last way longer than that. Okay, there's been freeze-dried foods that have been found after 40 years, and they were still good. It was still good to eat. Actually, I don't think I have it here. No. Oh, it's actually in my closet. I have a can of Noah's Ark dehydrated foods that was packaged 40 plus years ago. I actually did a video on 2 different cans that I opened that were like 45 years old, and they were still good. So, and those weren't freeze-dried. Those were just dehydrated. So freeze-dried foods, in my opinion, will last, probably outlive you, depending on how old you are. So, and the thing is about the Nutrient Survival egg powder, I mean, I don't know how many of you have gotten it from here, but if you've gotten the Nutrient Survival egg powder, or the vitamin eggs, let me know if you liked it. Say liked it or didn't like it, or let me know if it tastes like eggs. To me, they just taste like eggs. There's nothing special about them. But what's special about them is that they just taste like eggs. There's no after flavor. You don't have a weird taste in the back of your throat when you're done eating it. It just tastes like eggs. And the good thing is also is that they have all of those micronutrients in them. So, I think they're awesome eggs. They're great. Hey, Tristan, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. They're talking about sending 12,000 more troops. Is that in addition to the 5,000 Marines and the 3,000 from Fort Bragg, Tristan? Breaks my heart, man. I hope that we don't put boots on ground. It's going to be really bad. Let me see. Joanne says, I don't have a refrigerator. Does beef tallow need to be refrigerated after opening it? I would say not, because it's a pure fat. It's kind of like ghee, so like if you have ghee, I've got ghee that I made, I don't know, a couple months ago now. I think I made it. I'm almost out of it, so I'm going to have to make another pint. I have ghee. I just leave it on the counter. It's a pure fat. It doesn't have any solids or water in it, so it's not going to spoil. All right. Same thing with lard. Same thing with coconut oil. beef tallow, I would say it should last on the counter for a very long time, as long as you don't contaminate it with a dirty spoon or something. So like whenever I go into my jar of ghee to get ghee out, I'll take a spoon and I'll heat it up on the stove's burner where it gets really hot. That way I know it's very sanitized. I go get my scoop of ghee out, which is nice because I can get my ghee out of there really easy because the spoon is out. And then I put my cover back on it. I've never, ever had any ghee go bad, ever. Hey, thank you, Scott. Scott just gave someone here a membership to the Ladies and Gentlemen's Club. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. You know what, Joanne, Nutrient Survival has butter powder, but let me tell you what I don't like about freeze-dried butter powders, all right? It's that the one from Nutrient Survival tastes pretty good, you know, and you can actually spread it cold, right? The only thing I don't like about butter powders is that it doesn't melt like butter. Something with the freeze drying process or the drying process, it just doesn't melt like butter. So I would rather put away ghee for long term, or maybe you can take some of that butter powder and mix it in with some ghee, you know. But the butter powder is really good for baking and stuff like that. But if you want to like spread butter on a toast and have it melt, it doesn't really do that. And it doesn't matter what brand you get. None of them do it, right? Or if you want to take that butter powder and put it on a pan so that it can melt, so you can make eggs or something, it's not going to melt like regular butter, even though it's real butter. But if something happens during the drying or the freeze drying process where it won't allow it to like melt like regular butter. So that's the only thing I don't like about butter powder. I have a pretty good amount of it. However, for my fats, I'd rather put away ghee. I'd rather put away extra virgin olive oil. I just keep it out of direct sunlight and keep it in a cool temperature, cool room. I'd rather put away coconut oil. And what else? Ghee, lard, coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil. Those are like the best fats to put away for long term. Hey, thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support what I do, just use my Amazon link. Use my Amazon link, and it doesn't cost you a penny more. And it doesn't have to be to buy something that I'm saying, hey, this is good. You can do your regular shopping on Amazon, and it doesn't cost you a penny more to use my link. And I do appreciate it. You know why, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate it? Because when you use the Alaska Preppers Amazon link, it takes a couple of pennies out of Jeff Bezos' pockets and it sends it to me. Can you tell that I rehearsed that? All right. Yeah, 82nd Airborne. That's where I grew up in the Army. 80 Deuce. All American. I still remember the song. Anyone here that's in the 82nd and that's been stationed there, every morning they play the same music over and over again. You know, put on your boots. You'll never forget it. Yeah, absolutely. Remember to rotate the fat. Rotate everything. Everything you have in your storage, in your food storage, you ought to rotate, with the exception of any bulk long-term storage. Like, let's say if you have 5-gallon buckets of rice that you put away with an oxygen absorber and stuff like that, or freeze-dried stuff. You don't have to rotate that. That stuff is made to last 25 years, 25, 30 years. So, but I do believe that the first order of your food preps ought to be your pantry, the regular pantry. You take your regular pantry, which is stuff that you eat every day on a normal basis, regular basis, right? You take that and you deepen that out. You stretch that out to 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, preferably a year. Like right now, in my situation, right now, my food pantry, my regular food pantry, will probably get me by for about a month. I would say about a month, maybe a month and a half if I stretched it, right? That's my regular food pantry, right? And that's the stuff that I use on a regular basis. So what I would do is like the other day, I went and bought some of those hams, right? That's part of my regular pantry. Why? Because I usually go through one of those hams like maybe once every 1 or 2 months. So I use it on a regular basis, even though it's every 1 or 2 months. So I'll make sure that I rotate that. All right. So your first layer of food prep should be the regular food that's in your pantry that you eat on a regular basis, that you've extended out to X number of months, preferably a full year, before you start stocking your longer term food storage or your bulk food storage. Codex is broken. Silver's not going below $70 again. Well, I mean, it's at $68 right now. I mean, it's a $68 spot, but if you mean it's not going below $70 again, like if you go to buy it like at a coin shop or like SD Bullion or something like that, then maybe. But I believe that I'm not going to say fortunate, because I think it's a good thing. I think silver will be going down and touching the 50 hand at least once, you know. But that's going to be a good thing. That will be a very good thing for the market. And in the long term, that will be a very, very good thing for the market. Because once we clear that 50, we consolidate there, and we start hitting our levels. Like the first level we're going to have to hit is 70 or 66, then 72, then 93, then 103, then 121. Once we do that, once we hit all those levels, it's off to the it's off to the races, ladies and gentlemen. JLR, in all honesty, if you haven't bought any butter, this is what I have to say, is learn how to make ghee. Learn how to make ghee because it's delicious and it lasts pretty much forever. Stock up on coconut oil, you know, the one that's hard. Coconut oil is very versatile and it pretty much lasts forever. It really does. It doesn't go bad. And if you keep it clean, it will not go bad. It pretty much lasts forever. I've got coconut oil that's, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, if not older. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all, right? I mean, coconut oil is so versatile. You can use it for cavities. You can use it to make underarm deodorant. You can use it for toothpaste. You can use it for lotion for your skin. You can use it for cooking. There's so many things you can use it to make soap. You know, so many things. Hey, Jan, what's up? How you doing, Jan? Penman is in the house. Good to see you, Jan. What are you doing up this late, Jan? Hello, Jan. So nice to see you. Really good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see. Red feather butter in a can is the best canned butter there is. All right, I still have some. And I actually opened one up for you all here a while back. And I mean, it's long gone. I used it all already. But I think, how old was the one that I opened for you all? I think it was like 11 years old or 12 years old or something like that. There's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. The only thing that I would say about the red feather butter in a can is once you open it, make sure that you take it out of the can and put it like in a dish or something and cover it. Don't leave it in the can when you put it in the fridge. Keep it in the fridge. All right. Once you open it, put it in the fridge. Once whatever you haven't used, and don't leave it in the can, because that can will start to become rusty from the moisture in the air. Okay. And it'll give it a bad flavor if it does that. And I know that from experience, because I've done that before. And also, that butter is so old. Well, you know, if it's like 10 years old or something, that butter by that time is so old that you have to remember that still has solids and it still has water in it, right? And that can harbor bacteria. So you want to keep it in the fridge. The one that I opened up, I had in the fridge for about a week and a half before I finished it. So I know it was still good for at least a week and a half after I opened it. But you want to make sure you get it out of the can. Let's see. If you use my link, all right, it should be $39.99. All right. If you're just going on Amazon and typing in nutrient survival, you're probably going to run into the one that says $59.99. All right. It's just that they nutrient survival actually made a mistake with that badge, and they gave them the wrong QR code, I believe it was, or SKU, something like that. And it got priced at $39.99 on Amazon. And it was cheaper for nutrient survival to just leave it at that price instead of going to redo whatever they had to redo. So it was cheaper for them to take a loss on that side than to redo the whole thing, because it would have been more expensive. What else? Let's see. I'm going to look and see if I missed any questions. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have anything you want to ask or comment on that you want to share with the community, put it all in caps. If not, goodness gracious, we did a marathon today. We did a marathon, 2 hours so far. You guys want to hear a funny story about a marathon? So when I was stationed in Fort Lewis, Washington, which is JBLM, I ran a half marathon. I went and did the rock and roll marathon over in Seattle. Really fun, a lot of fun, because what they do is like every mile marker, they'll have a band playing, you know, so it's like the rock and roll marathon in Seattle. I only did the half marathon. I didn't do the full marathon. And my goal was 2 hours. You know, I was like, yeah, it's not bad. You know, I'm running 13.1 miles in 2 hours. That's not too bad. And you know, I always used to love to run. So I made it in 2 hours and 10 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. So I was trying to bribe the guy that gave me my medal, and like, hey man, can you put 2 hours in there? He said, no, you made it in 2 hours and 10 seconds. I was like, oh no. User A9, how you doing? Please start over, huh? After 2 hours. All right. Well, you know what? I have to tell you that I am very happy that I did this impromptu live stream. A lot of fun. I'll see if I can put out a video for tomorrow. I have a very good video to put out, but it won't be for tomorrow. This one's going to take me a little bit of time to do, because I had to do a lot of research into this, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of research. So hopefully maybe I'll be able to put it out. Maybe not till next week, because this weekend is my son's birthday. So I'll be celebrating with Victor this weekend. Well, this Sunday. So who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'll put it out this weekend or not. But I'll try to put one out tomorrow, see what's going on, see if there's any actionable intel that I can pass on to you. And I have to tell you all, thank you very much for all of your support. You know, I thought that after I stopped doing YouTube for a little bit there, you know, after I went on my hiatus, something like that is what you call it. I thought that there really wasn't going to be a comeback, but I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad to see you all still here. And I thank you all for being here, right? I thank you all for being here. Yes, I'll tell Victor you all say happy birthday. You know, counting the days, was in Washington. It was actually really nice. I do understand that it's become, you know, from what I understand, it's not what it used to be when I was there. I was back there between 2009 and 2014. Yeah. And it was very nice when I was there. But I guess after I left there, things started going downhill from what I understand. But I haven't been back. But I do hear things and I do see things that show that maybe it's not very nice anymore. When I was there, there was this... there, I think it's Lakeview. Lakeview, I believe, is the name of the little town right north of the base. I think it's Lakeview. But there was this robbery that took place at a bank. And it was by, I think it was 5 or 6 military guys in their gear and everything. So they went in there and held up a bank. And they thought they were going to get away with it. It ended up being like 6 junior enlisted, like privates, from a Ranger that was there. And I was like, oh my goodness, what were these guys thinking? They put on all their gear and everything. They went out and bought their own ARs and they went and held up a bank. I don't know why I thought about that. I just did. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have a great evening. Thank you so much for joining, and you really made this last 2 hours and 5 minutes a good 2 hours and 5 minutes for me. So thank you so much for joining in. Have a great rest of your evening, and have a good Friday out there. Now, remember, gas up. Get your vehicles filled up and fill in those gaps this weekend. You know, take a little trip to whatever store it is that you go to. Go get those sales of whatever canned good it is that you eat and fill in the gaps, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, there's plenty of room under a queen-size bed to feed one person for well over a year. So take advantage of all of the nooks and crannies that you have if you need to use those spaces, all right? So God bless every one of you. I love you all. Remember that. God bless America. Hey, I'm Alaska Prepper, and I am, just a second, I'm out. God bless.